Welcome to On the Rocks. I will be your guide. On this week's episode, we are putting the booze in booze. That was my gay ghost. For our Halloween special featuring witch and psychic Shana Leilani, ghost story aficionado, and host of A Touch from the Past podcast, Jen Curcio, with filmmaker Aaron Bear, whose latest film, The Rick Wyland Story, is sweeping the nation, and world travel vlogger Ravi Roth, a.k.a. Ravi Around the World. And me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin.
And most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Ooh, listen to that applause. Buttons and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. You know, we've had some serious episodes lately, so we are livening up with our Halloween party. I'm very, very excited, but I just have to say, literally every gay Halloween party that I've been to, more than half of the guys are just naked with like little cat ears or like a little bandana or something very, very little. And I'm not even exaggerating. Oh, a priest collar. That was the best. Priest collar and underwear. And I'm literally in the corner like with the Star Trek uniform with the ears and the hair and like the makeup. And I'm literally sitting by myself and nobody will ask me to be in their picture because they're all like hunkified. And I'm like, what happened to costumes? Like, what happened to costumes? That's my personal rant. Anyway, like us on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. The show is presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 300 episodes for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV on the Outlet.tv app, Facebook, watch if you're still on Facebook, streaming with pride on SVTV, and we're on Channel 31 on the East Coast 4 times a week. You lucky people. Share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave your phone number. I'm single. Speaking of Halloween, Palm Springs, I am bringing my boobies, get it, to Halloween. Halloween night, I'll be hosting Halloween on Arenas Road with Debbie Holiday and America's Got Talent's Brian Justin Crum and Andrew Christian, by the way. October 31st, giveaways, lots of booze, and they're shutting down the whole street. It's fun every single year, from what I can remember. Also, last but not least, Channel Q, starting next week, you'll be hearing my gorgeous manly voice around the nation on Channel Q FM, bringing my sassy news bites to over 22 major cities near you, representing GED and Metrosource magazine. So pucker up, buttercup, I'm coming for you. All right, let's get the show on the road. I am ready for a party. Let me introduce our expert panel for today's festivities. Shana Leilani, no stranger to On the Rocks, by the way, is a practicing witch and psychic based in Los Angeles, falling in love with tarot and the occult at a very young age. She now spends her days doing readings, crafting spells, and teaching witchcraft to the magically inclined. And when she isn't brewing something in her cauldron, she is producing her burlesque show, Bell, Book, and Candle, hosting her podcast, which I listened to today for the first time, Wine, Spirits, and Witches, or she's investigating paranormal happenings around the country. Please welcome Shana Leilani.
Hello.
Did you see that picture that we got, by the way?
I did. You
So
stuck that in.
cute.
Yes.
You've been a little witchy from day one.
You gotta start him young, man.
Yeah, I guess. Also joining our show, Jen Curcio is a storyteller and the co-host of A Touch from the Past podcast. She is originally from Philadelphia with the cream cheese, but she lives and loves LA. I had the absolute pleasure to be a guest on her show, chatting about my own personal LA ghost story that still haunts me to this day. Her show has been listed as a GED and Metrosource magazine podcast to listen to. Please welcome Jen Curcio. Also joining us from Seattle, by the way. You left Seattle from the rain, and we had rain. Aaron Bear is a filmmaker, again from Seattle. He directed and produced an award-winning feature-length documentary in 2016 called Finding Kim that revealed an uncommon passion for beautifully rendered, deeply empathetic storytelling. Finding Kim is regarded as one of the truest tellings of a transgender person's life. And currently, he just released Yes, I Am, the Rick Wyland story about the unknown queer pioneer, which is narrated by Zachary Quinto and executive produced by World of Wonder. And I have to tell you, I get pitched hey, cover this documentary, watch this, blah, blah, blah. I got to see it before anybody saw it in film festivals, and it was amazing. We don't realize that one of the founding people for Microsoft was a member of the LGBTQ community. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, and also how it relates to the spirit world. And last but certainly not least, oh, Lord. Happened to be visiting, by the way. And I'm like, yes, come on. LGBTQIA LMNOP travel expert and YouTube content creator Ravi Roth is the host of multiple adventure series, including Ravi Around the World, Ravi's Road to Pride, and the Gaycation Travel Show, exploring over 34 countries and counting, and collaborating with such brands as Orbitz, Airbnb, Rome Luggage, Alaska Airlines, HBO Max, Bailey's, NYC Go, and Time Out Market. Ravi captures authentic experiences and discovers the best local places to stay, play, eat, and drink, and explore within the queer and the not-so-queer culture. And this is what I love. He goes into different communities. It's not just the typical cities that you would expect. Named as Gay City's Best Insta-Traveler 2019, and of course Metro Source's People We Love in 2020. He's a sought-after lecturer on international queer travel and has been a featured speaker at the New York Times Travel Show, Google, LGBTQ Week, Pac-12 Pride, Seeker App, Connect Thrive Summit, and Community Marketing Insights. His fun-loving personality and fabulous hosting style has been praised by such press outlets and organizations as Uproxx, GLAAD, Cheddar, People Magazine's Reality Check, by the way, with Darren Karp, one of my gals, USA Today's Modern Wellness Guy, Instinct Magazine for his full frontal spread, and Outfront Magazine. Please welcome Ravi Roth! That applause is a bit much, by the way. Just so you know, I was like, oh, okay.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. So this is our Halloween panel. I'm very excited. Halloween has become one of my favorite times of the year, especially like this year. I think we're all ready for holidays. So it's like barely September 1st. It's like, let's get out the pumpkins. Let's get out the pumpkin spice. I'm ready for it. I am that gay, not gay. I'm that straight, white, yoga-going woman with the pumpkin spice. Even if it's like 80 degrees in LA, I'm still there with my pumpkin spice. When that first came out, I didn't realize that it had like 380 calories. And I thought it was just coffee. And coffee's like good for you because it's like low cal, right? So I would have 2 a day.
Oh, no.
Oh. Wait, but pumpkin spice from Starbucks?
Yeah.
Or-
The latte.
See, I'm the Dunkin' pumpkin.
Oh.
Nobody else?
No, it tastes like water. It tastes like pumpkin water.
It's so good.
No.
It's
I'm
so
sorry,
good.
you're wrong.
With
Oh,
no
you know
actual
what?
pumpkin on the inside, by the way.
Well, I don't think there's a real pumpkin in anything, right?
I don't know.
No.
Dunkin'.
No, I think that
Dunkin'
there is.
pumpkin.
I think, yeah.
We should have had a taste off. I wish I would have known that. We would have had Starbucks and Dunkin' would be like, okay, Ravi, come on. Is it just because you don't want to do like the huge corporate Starbucks?
No, it's actually like the pumpkin is really sweet and it tastes really good, whereas Starbucks pumpkin is just like, it's a little too, like, what kind of milk is going into this? Like, I know what I'm getting with Dunkin'.
Okay.
I used to work at Dunkin'. I don't think
You
you know.
did?
I did.
Tell us what was really
Wait,
happening.
what-
Yeah.
All right. So, like the breakfast sandwiches, each piece comes in it's like a tube, and it's like discs you break off and throw in the microwave.
I worked at
Sorry.
Starbucks as well, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I would rather eat a Dunkin' breakfast thing. That Starbucks, it has no life, no personality. It makes me sad inside when I even see it, and then when I have to eat it, and it's like $8 for like this little piece of crap, and it's sad looking. It looks like it's a black and white film.
You're
It's like
fine.
rare.
What goes into the pumpkin drink, though?
I
A pumpkin disc.
It's a big
Nothing- it's
vat
something
of
different.
discolored orange pump
yeah, it's
syrup.
like pump
And it's
stuff.
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
so
it
good.
sounds
Yeah.
good. It sounds really
Sounds
good.
delicious.
Didn't you used to be vegan?
No, I'm vegetarian.
It's all the same to me. It's like, well, fun times. Okay. But Shana, I want to talk to you about Halloween time. Is it fabricated that there's like closer proximity to the spirit world? Have we fabricated that so that we've manifested it? Or is October, the end of October, is it really connected with something?
It actually is. So it's not fabricated at all.
Okay.
It's all stemmed from a holiday called Samhain, which is where we celebrate our ancestors, the spirit world. It's believed that the veil between worlds is at its thinnest. So this is a time where witches and covens and everyone would get together, and they would believe that they could share that evening with their ancestors and with people that had crossed over. So we see lots of ancestral altars and things like that, and this is where the big thing with ghosts come from, because this is where they're at their most material, I guess.
No, but is it... have like all the cultures just grabbed on to this period of... Is it something with the alignment of like the stars, or why the end of October?
I wish I had an answer for that. I could try and
Just
come
because
up
it's like
with
cold
that.
and cozy.
Well, the one thing that I will say is that if you do look at it, because the different hemispheres, so we are celebrating Samhain while they're like in Australia celebrating Beltane, which is actually very opposite and very full of life. But since they're kind of opposite on the pole, this is when at these two times that the spirit world is its most active. So the other time of year here for us in Los Angeles that we would see this is actually at the beginning of May.
Okay.
And it would be almost on par. And it's true. Like, now that you guys know about it, think about it in May, and you're going to start seeing some spooky happenings.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, like my last breakup. Of course, that could be any month, to be honest. We also have another guest, and I would be remiss without introducing. Coming back to the show, you have brought Stephanie, a.k.a. the Haunted Doll.
Yes, we have. We have your friend Stephanie here to say hello. It's been a while.
It has been a while. We actually poured her a drink, so nothing bad happens.
Yes, there we go. So we have. I'm not drinking tonight, but
Yeah.
she is. So I'll be her DD.
Stephanie has come to the show, and like we had lights that went out at one point. What does it mean to have a haunted doll?
Well, I mean, spirits, they all have their own personality. So luckily, Stephanie just kind of wants to be friends with people and likes attention. So, taking her to things like this makes her really happy. I believe that when I first got her, it was a little bit more work to figure her out, get to know her and her temperament, because there is a temper that can be there if you mess with her. But I would say that having a haunted doll, it's kind of on par with having a supernatural child sometimes. It depends on how unruly the spirit is that we're talking about.
I'm curious, Shana, what made you keep her?
You know what? I actually took her home just for like a night, and my husband was very mad at me about that. Like, he has a very strict no ghosts in the house rule that I broke.
It's like, stay out, ghosts.
And I just didn't want to give her back. I was like, she's mine now. Like, and it was just that.
In my mind, is there like some supernatural Toys R Us where like, oh, let's get this haunted thing and this haunted thing? Or how did Stephanie come into your life?
So she actually belonged to a vintage store. They had just got her in an estate sale haul. And at that time, things just started getting really funky in the store. People were behaving weird. And so they just knew, they're like, something is wrong. I don't know what's happening. So they called me. And we figured out that it was her. And she just was a little misunderstood, needed someone to kind of like, I think, help her along with her own spiritual transition, so to speak, because at the end of the day, like, I guess even ghosts need therapy. So, there we go.
I'm so curious, like, how did you get into the whole, like, spiritual world?
You know what? I was just a really weird kid that was always super into this stuff. And so it's just been my life this whole time. And it was really cool as I started meeting paranormal investigators and different, people in the paranormal and witchcraft community to see, like, this could legit just be my adult life as well, and just something that always happened. I got really lucky.
Has she told you how she feels about the upcoming baby? It's...
It's really funny because other people have asked me that too. And so far, everything seems to be okay. We're going to kind of just see what happens. Luckily, she's up high where a toddler can't get her. But I'm a terrible auntie, and I did let my niece play with her when my niece was little, and she was cool with it. So,
So for our audience that might have gathered, Shana is expecting.
Yes.
How has that changed your whole? Have you found like your psychic abilities have shifted? Have they like increased? Like what's happening?
You know what? I will say that since being pregnant, I feel like my magic is like tippity top. Like, it's been something where, I know what my strengths are within my magical capabilities, and I know when to be like, okay, well, like, legal stuff isn't my thing. Go see so and so instead. But like,
Legal paranormal.
hey man, there's a whole thing for legal candles, but that's just not my specialty. But like,
Is there really?
oh yeah, court case candles. Absolutely.
Have you ever heard of court case candles?
No,
no.
but I needed to.
Like, where's that Law and Order episode? I want like that SVU like dun dun.
We
And
just
like,
blew everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like there's different like realms of specialty within witchcraft, and I know where mine are, and I know where I'm like, I should practice that, but who wants to like be like, hey, will you be my like legal candle guinea pig? Like, I'm not gonna be that guy. But I have noticed, like, I feel like just even thinking about what I have to do magically and stuff, it starts to happen a lot faster. So that's been really nice. I have had a couple more ghostly encounters and paranormal things. It was actually cool. I feel like I'm growing the next generation of ghost hunters. I got to go to the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, which was amazing. And that was actually the first time that I felt the baby kick. So
Wow.
yeah, so hopefully he's going to be a ghost fan.
Now, I've heard that psychic abilities are passed down from generation to generation. Do you think it's genetics, or do you think it's just like this energy?
I think it's all not necessarily genetics. It could be because it does run in people's family, but it really comes from ancestral lineage, and our ancestors stand behind us. So I don't know if I would necessarily call it just genetics per se, because there are people that are adopted, and you still have your adopted family's ancestors behind you as well.
Oh, interesting.
So I think it just depends on your connection, even from a child maybe, to your ancestors, and where you let them kind of whisper to you and pass that on.
What is your take? There's been a boom in the last, I would say, 5 years of paranormal shows, like on the Travel Channel, paranormal investigators with that cute guy, Chris. Oh, God. And then he came out 2 years ago. I'm like, no shit. But then there's like the Ghost Brothers, and there's Kindred Spirits. There's all these shows that are happening. We've had the opportunity to talk to most of them. What is your take on that? Do you think it diminishes kind of the legitimacy, or does it actually bring more attention to the world of paranormal and build that industry up?
I think it really does bring a lot more attention to it, and we've seen this rise with paranormal industry, as well as just the popularity of the occult as well, and just this huge interest, which I think is wonderful, because it's making people question their views on life and death, their views on their spirituality, and I think it's making everyone a little bit more evolved, and I think that's great. I'm sure that there's places that wouldn't agree with me, just because, like, at least in Los Angeles, most of our cemeteries are gated up and you can't get in. But I'm sure in other places in the country, there's like a lot of obnoxious little teenagers going, ghost hunting at 3 a.m. at cemeteries, and that may not be as fun.
Or other things, and I've been known to frequent a cemetery.
Isn't it also interesting, though, that Travel Channel is now Trivel Channel? They took out the A and the E, so it's Trivel Channel.
They did?
Yeah.
They're on a budget. They just needed to save on the
So
letters.
it went
we can't
from
afford
being
those 2 letters.
I mean, it went from being a channel that had Bourdain, Samantha Brown, travel vlogs, to now being, ghost hunters or house hunters, or really in the realm. So it went from the realm that I'm in to the realm that you're in.
Right.
So I feel like
That
there
is
is that
interesting.
connection, though. There is that travel through space, into travel through time, through
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, my favorite thing about traveling is looking up the haunted places and all of the obscure places to go. I got a drive from Florida back to California, and kind of just overtook my friend's road trip and turned it into like a spooky haunted cross-country trip the whole time. But it was amazing, just because of all the, not just the sights that we got to see, but just the different history that we got to experience from different parts of the country. Paranormal and some of it just really dark, because, like, let's be real, you got to have some dark stuff to make a ghost, right?
Yeah.
So there's always that joke. It's like, well, why aren't there like modern ghosts? Like somebody's like, boo, it's Britney, bitch. Like, how come all the ghosts are so old?
I mean, you know what? I wonder that myself, but I'm not thoroughly convinced that that's true. I think those are the ones that kind of get the most attention, and those
have
are
good
the
PR.
ones they do. They do. They have good representation. But I've been to a lot of bars that have a lot of spirits attached to them that are probably just from, like, the 80s even. So it's really like, it just depends on where you're looking and what you're receptive to. But I mean, come on, let's be real. A Victorian ghost is so much more glamorous. You're definitely gonna want to talk about that instead of like the drunk dude that smells like, seedy bar from the 70s.
Well, even this neighborhood is, so rich with history and Hollywood
And
history and murders.
Yep.
And right before I came into the studio, I was kind of surprised by just how sort of cute and quaint, but definitely a vibe in this neighborhood. And I went next door to the smokehouse.
Talk about history.
I'm a big fan of old steakhouses and sort of older restaurants in town. And that one, you walk in and it's like hits you like a ton of bricks.
It is like walking back in time. Oh, there we go. Was that your stomach, Tony, or was that like a sound effect? But Smokehouse does have a very definite energy. And I went to you did a ghost night at a bar. Where was it?
It was in La Crescenta.
Yeah,
It was called the Roar Room. I don't think it's there anymore.
Oh, but it was so fun because you had like the different like tools, and when we took the pictures, when we looked at the pictures that we took, there was all these little orbs all over the place, and it was definitely scary. Okay, so that little sound effect means we're gonna play a little Halloween. No, yeah, Halloween. It's been a long day. Halloween trivia. So this is just open, like whoever wants to answer first, and then we're gonna tally up, and then at the end of the show, you get a prize. This one's kind of easy. What sort of mask does Michael Myers wear in the original Halloween?
William Shatner.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
So I don't know if you've seen Halloween Kills, which is supposed to be awful.
I actually enjoyed it, and when you make a movie and that has a franchise and you're doing it, I don't know, this is like the 15th film, and Jamie Lee Curtis is still in it.
And she loves it so much. That's what I like, is that she like respects it. Like she's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Let's do it full.
Yeah, and it's like Toni Collette when she's in all these horror films.
Yes.
And it's like you have to have a love behind it, and I think that she does. And it's for all intents and purposes, it's like one of those things that will continue on and on and on and on, as long as people are like showing up and watching the films.
People will always go see horror films. I hate Paranormal Activity because I think it's so schlocky, but I've seen every single one in the theater.
But I
because
also
it's the
thought that one
experience.
was cool too, because it ended up being like about witches.
I liked Paranormal Activity when it was called Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
But as a filmmaker, there's also the studio puts together this film on a shoe budget amount, right? And then it'll, even if it does poorly at the box office, it'll still profit millions and millions and millions.
Yeah, well, now that you can put it on Peacock and all of these other streaming platforms, and the way of the movie theater, it might be going away. I don't know. I still love going to the movie theater, but most people like to watch their film at home now.
They say that the box office will still be affected by COVID until 2024.
I think it's going to be a carry-on for a very long time.
Because we have gotten used to watching stuff at home from the comfort, but there's so many distractions, and you as a filmmaker, that must frustrate you because you're not watching the movie the way it was supposed to be filmed, where your focus is there. You're on your phone, you're going to the bathroom, you're getting your Postmates, you've missed half the stuff that's happening. I mean, that has to be frustrating as a filmmaker.
It is and isn't. I mean, for a filmmaker like myself, where I know that people are going to watch my type of films in a home setting. Doing a theatrical release it costs a lot of money to do and to promote. So within that, yeah, I know that that's the way of the world. However, I would love for a theatrical release of my film, and I think that's where film festivals come in and do a really good job, because you can watch your film in a very large theater.
Well, speaking of film festivals, the reason why you're visiting us in Southern California is your film just showed at Newport Beach Film Festival, which is a very prestigious film festival, by the way. All the rich bitches go there.
Yeah, it was an incredible film festival that I was very blown away by, and the level of just sort of like star quality behind it, and professionalism, and feeling like you're taken care of as a filmmaker, because a lot of the times you show up to film fests and it's just kind of like you're kind of your own PR person, and you're the one putting the DVD into the DVD player. But with this, it felt very different. It had a very different vibe.
Now, as a filmmaker, you've seen your film over and over. You probably helped edit it if you didn't edit it yourself. Seeing it on the big screen with a bunch of people watching, are you sitting there every time it's shown, or are you waiting outside to kind of gauge the...
I watch it every time, and every time I mean, like you said, I've seen it 100+ times, and I always watch it differently, and there is a moment where I find myself like getting sucked into my own film, which I find is a good thing. And then at the end, I always get emotional and I cry, because for many reasons. But I think that Rick Wyland's story is a story that can affect people and change people's lives, certainly.
Well, not to bring the party down, but along the lines of the Rick Wyland story, it's really an understanding about depression and mental health, something that hasn't been really talked about, especially in the LGBTQ community, very much. And all of us having survived COVID, we all suffered our own form of depression or like what the hell is going on. And it really affected everybody in the nation. And Shana, I wanted to ask you from a psychic point of view, have you, from your clients, have you seen an increase of mental health issues, or is there like a disturbance in the force? Like,
I have seen an increase in awareness of mental health issues is what I'll say, where before we would kind of see a lot more of people chalking up depression or different things to a spiritual crisis, where now people are like, hey, I think there's something else here. So it's actually, in that sense, I think been really good for a lot of people. It became a blessing in disguise because people were able to do the healing that they weren't aware that they needed to do. And it also brought a lot more awareness to bigger things in life, where people are saying like, okay, well, I've realized I'm not satisfied and I've been distracting myself. So what is the bigger purpose here? And so it's actually been kind of cool to see that evolution through this, because I mean, we have to find the silver lining in this, right? And I feel like that was a pretty good one.
I love that. Aaron, talk a little bit about Rick Wyland and who he was and why making this film was important.
Rick was a queer pioneer. He was a philanthropist. He started Microsoft with Paul Allen and Bill Gates. So it was those three. They met in high school. I mean, they were kids. And this is someone who has this sort of genius level brain and took his wealth and applied it to places like ACT UP and GLAAD and these grassroots organizations that didn't exist back. I mean, they were trying to exist, and then they became these huge organizations because of Rick. And I keep trying to drive home when I tell people about this film and about Rick is his impact is so profound, and it affects everyone in this room here. And also somebody that did not want to be known. You know, usually someone with that amount of wealth and you have all these philanthropic efforts, you want your name on the building or something, and he didn't want any of that. But also somebody who struggled a lot internally, and when you have everything on paper, but yet you still feel isolated, alone, and I mean, spoiler alert, like Rick. I mean, you can look it up. I mean, Rick took his own life in 2006. So someone who created such a significant amount of change and impact in our world, and yet still wasn't happy with himself. I also started my own mental health journey while I was making this film, and I haven't even kind of like started to process that in a way, because making a documentary is such a huge amount of work, and it takes a lot of empathy, and it's like a huge energy exchange with a lot of people, and it's a lot of establishing trust. And it was with all of the sort of gatekeepers that were a part of Rick's life. This film changed me as a human being, period, full stop, and also as a filmmaker. And it's like Rick has affected my life in so many profound ways that I'm still processing it all. So along the way, why I made this film, it's all of those reasons. It's because he made such a significant and an impactful change. And I hope that this film, it lives beyond me as a filmmaker. It's beyond me. So I hope that it's like being a psychic or a medium. It's like I always felt like I'm just delivering the message that's coming through me, and in this medium, in this format.
Just like a medium, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what, I mean, for me, filmmaking is. It's like, it's not about me. It's about a story. It's about, especially with Rick Wyland, it was all right there waiting to be told.
Let's take a look at the trailer for the Rick Wyland story, sweeping up the film festivals, like I said.
Rick was a very, very complex thinker.
Always a little bit of a hard guy to figure out. He didn't have something to prove to you. But he was an incredible programmer.
Computers are the art form I relate to.
Lifestyle of homosexuals has triggered an epidemic.
All of my friends and colleagues are dying. How can I help?
He became such a strategic activist.
He was one of the top donors to these organizations.
If I told him that I loved him, that was upsetting to him. He didn't feel like he deserved love.
My days are very empty.
He was contemplating ending his despair.
Rick was pivotal in the information age and the gay rights movement. We wouldn't live in the world that we live in today without the contribution that Rick made.
Highly recommend it. Again, I'm not really one to sit and watch documentaries all in one sitting, and it was really amazing. And again, not to bring the party down, so to speak, but this is part of the spirituality. This is part of the essence of Halloween. We honor those that have passed. And Shana, I want to know, when somebody does take their life, obviously it affects everybody that's left. But when you've talked to family members and people that have passed on, have you ever dealt with a suicide situation?
Yes, I have. Both in a setting where I was doing a reading for the family members and the loved ones that are still here, and also like in a paranormal setting. And I feel like there's a lot of healing that needs to take place, and everyone's journey is very individual with that, you know. But I think that the one thing that I will say is, again, we never stop healing and we never stop processing. So just as we're alive and we're learning things and kind of going about our life and trying to navigate things, it's very similar with the spirit world. And I think that with spirits of people that have died by suicide, we need to be a little bit more gentle and a little bit more understanding and respectful, because we have to realize that as much as we're still hurting from their passing, like this is very different from, you know, grandma that got to go peacefully in her sleep. This is someone that is hurting as well. And so the words that we speak and the way that we honor people and their lives afterwards, this is like a really wonderful healing process for like his spirit as well.
It is. And I, along the way, halfway through the making of this film, I do my own work with my own friends who are psychics, mediums, and I've always done that. And during the process, I was a little afraid. I actually asked, I was like, does Rick know that I'm making a film about him? And my friend and psychic medium, BB Magda, she said, he does. The only thing that he asks is like, you don't bring him back, and like ask to bring him back. Wow. Which kind of made sense.
Because he was shy.
He was shy, but also, I mean, he did this. I mean, even when he took his own life, he went out and bought a book how to do it properly. So it's like trying to just like force someone to come back, force someone to talk from the other side. It just completely resonated, and I understood it.
I have to tell you, I went, my friend, this was years ago, she was a psychic, and I'm like, can we get Judy Garland? Like, can Judy Garland show up? How do you get, like, ridiculous requests like that? Like, where's Elvis? Like,
you know, I wish that I did. I wish I got more of those, but I think I'm the most ridiculous person that I know in that sense. When I was little, my friends must have hated coming to play at my house because I always wanted to play seance, and I was determined to talk to Princess Diana. I was determined. She never answered the phone. But
why Princess Diana?
I don't know, but I was just determined, and like I had this little like tent in my backyard. I would make all my friends sit in it, and we would hold hands and try and get Princess Diana to talk to us.
And did she ever come?
No, she never answered the phone.
Have you seen the trailer for Spencer?
I saw it yesterday for the first time.
I was really skeptical, but it looks amazing. Show the clip. No.
Well, it's funny because I saw the trailer for the first time, but on my movie news I reported Kristen Stewart has made 47 films. In her interview that she gave 2 days ago, she says, I've made 5 good films from those 47. I was like, which 5 were those? I can't even think of like one. She's like, Queen Elizabeth. That was my Kristen Stewart impression, by the way.
Solid.
But it's funny. My mom has this weird connection with Princess Di. Even when I was growing up, she would get the People magazines and all that. And to this day, she watches the documentaries and everything. And there's just this weird connection to Princess Di. And a lot of people have this.
I have it. Absolutely. Like, I honestly, if I'm being honest, like, I think she had big dyke energy. And, like...
Oh.
That's a really, really good
Kristen
point.
Stewart.
Well, yeah, hello.
And that's, like, when I saw, I was like, it all connected, like, it's happening.
And if even by being a dyke meant that, she was her own individual, didn't give a shit about the rest of the world, she was there to live her life. Plus, we know that she and Freddie Mercury would, like, go to the gay bars and whoop it up.
She and who?
Freddie Mercury.
Hello. I've been getting Freddie Mercury lately.
Yes. Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Oscar Isaac was initially offered the role?
What?
Yeah, and he turned it down. Yep.
Why?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I wanted to see those pants. I'm like, how are those pants gonna differ? So, Aaron, as a filmmaker, what do you think are the most quintessential horror films, past and modern, that have kind of shaped what the genre is?
Shaped the genre. Shaped myself as well. I would say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, because it kind of took you into this realm of mindfuck as well. I mean, really, if you watch the original, there is not a lot of blood or gore, so it's all in your head.
Like Psycho. There's no actual puncturing of a knife, but our brains put it together, and that's because Alfred Hitchcock was an amazing filmmaker, but there was actual no puncturing. It was all just quick shots.
It precisely that. So I believe that it's one of my favorite films, and I think that it has stood the test of time, which is huge. And then recently, there are so many fantastic horror films out there. If you subscribe to Shudder,
I just got my free subscription today.
What's Shudder?
So Shudder it's kind of like an HBO Max, but just for horror films.
Yes.
It's great.
And it's like high budget stuff. It's low budget stuff. It's stuff that you've never seen before in your life.
There's an app for just horror.
It's all horror. It's like the Netflix HBO Max of.
Elvira had a big special on it.
Yep.
She
like,
did.
Yeah.
Creepshow was playing on the new Creepshow.
Yeah.
Yep. Like Creepshow, I feel like that format of Creepshow, of Tales from the Crypt.
I miss Tales from the
yes.
Crypt. I miss that show so much because it was so
Throwback.
smart. It was so well done. And then of course the guest stars that they had, but it was so.
And the Crypt Keeper was like a little gay, you know.
Hello, he was like in a suit. He was like, I mean,
like, hello, boys and girls, you know.
You go, to the Abbey at 3:30 in the morning, and they're there in the cars waiting for you to come out. It's like, yes, I have seen that. Okay, come on, Palm Springs Halloween. But back to Texas Chainsaw, I also think because it had that element, it was like based on a real story.
Well,
and
yeah,
that's the most terrifying, I think, is when it has a tie to reality. Like Blair Witch Project. We hadn't seen a film like that. That movie scared me so badly, and I won't tell you how old I was, but I was old enough to be living on my own. I slept on the floor of my mom's room for 2 nights after seeing that movie because it scared the shit out of me.
I slept in my parents' room for like 2 years after that.
She's like, I'm heading there tonight.
Yeah, I'm going back to my parents' room tonight.
But Blair Witch, though, also changed, I feel like, the trajectory of films.
Yes.
Oh, totally.
It was almost like the Lin-Manuel Miranda of Broadway.
Yeah, that's
just
actually
like
a really good point. It's
totally,
like, we're gonna mix this
different.
shit up.
Very
Yeah.
different.
I feel like it was the first thing that went viral, really, because it like went viral.
That's a
There
good
was
And it
point.
was
Yeah.
so low budget,
Yeah,
shot on
so
the
low.
like
With unknowns.
right.
Yeah.
And we didn't know anything about it. Now we know everything about a movie. We've seen the trailer. We've seen everything about a movie before it actually hits. And I miss the old-fashioned trailers, like, in a world of, whatever. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. And now we've seen every cool scene already in the trailer. Like, where's the mystique? And that was Blair Witch. We hadn't seen anything. We saw these, missing posters, and it was like, oh, my God. And then that final scene where he's, like, just at the wall, and you're like, and then that's it. Because our mind creates scarier than anything that they can show us.
Sure.
Because we interpret what is the scariest thing for us.
What is the scariest thing for you?
That's a good... Actually, I have this question is, what is your scariest thing? My scariest thing is death. not for myself, but for people around me. To like be the last man standing scares the crap out of me.
Are you talking about a fear, or are you talking about something you're genuinely afraid of?
No, I'm genuinely afraid of that. Like when there's death talk or in a movie, you know how like they have those generation movies where everybody gets older and then like, you know, Gone with the Wind at the end, or you guys are too young, but the Thornbirds was like one where you see people just age and then at the end it's like, 6 Feet Under, that finale.
Oh my God.
I literally hyperventilated that they thought they had to take me to the hospital because I couldn't breathe. I was so traumatized.
One of the best shows of all time. In my opinion. Yeah.
Of all time. In fact, when you're visiting here, you should go see the Fisher House. It still looks the same.
Honey,
it's on Arlington.
I go a lot. I mean, I come down,
So,
just to like stand in the yard like a creep.
When I first moved to LA, I lived in Arlington Heights, and so I would be super drunk. I don't drink and drive anymore, everybody, but I would be super drunk and like emotional, and I would literally park right in front of the house and just cry like Nathaniel, like what a weirdo. Can you imagine?
No, I
can
I
actually.
Don't even get me started.
Having
on the
just
house.
met you in real life, I can imagine.
Yes, and I had like Del Taco burrito. I'm like, I'm so sad, everybody. But what are some of your
I think being
fears?
tortured. I mean, like Saw
Hostel?
or Hostel.
And you travel around the world.
I mean,
it's gonna happen.
Girl, Hostel.
That was scary. And why is Eli Roth so handsome, by the way?
Yes, but like Hostel and Saw, just getting tortured and being in a room where you can't get out and like having to solve clues. But also, those are my favorite horror movies where you're like, solve the clue because you're an asshole for some reason. You did something to piss someone off, or you did something wrong. Figure your shit out and you can get out.
Plus, I like the smartness of it because usually, Saw 1 and 2 were smart. Like Saw 15 was just ridiculous. It's like, put your fingers together and you'll get free. But like the first one was like really solve puzzles. But I like when it's smart.
Yeah, but you know what's also really interesting is like whenever anything really bad happens, I never think to take my phone out. Like if someone was getting shot right now, I would like go and hide, or I'd like stand behind you, I'd go behind the curtain or somewhere. But there's so many people that like take their phones out now to record that, which I feel is really, I would not think of that. And as someone who takes my phone out to record a lot.
I was going to say, you'd be like.
I would take a selfie on a lot of occasions, but not for like someone getting killed or like a mass, like a murder or something.
But you know what always it ticks me off is when we see all these videos of people getting beaten up or hit or whatever, and people are literally on their phones. It's like, go help them. Go do something. Yeah. God, that pisses me off. Isn't there a law? It's like the stand-by law or something where you can't just
do.
The Good Samaritan.
See something.
See something. Say something.
Say something. Yes.
Okay.
That's like the New York City subway. That's the New York City subway slogan.
I know I saw that somewhere.
Hey, that would be a good horror film title.
If you see something, say something.
Yeah. Oh my God. You better copyright that. We better write that real fast. Let's just write it.
Patent pending.
Jen, what scares you the most?
Oh man, I don't even know. Like I feel like I lived through a pandemic. Like what else is there? Sorry. I think maybe to be the last person I know living.
Yeah.
And that like loneliness.
Yeah. It literally fills me with anxiety.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to be so scared about my mom and grandma dying that I would literally start to shake because it fills me with such anxiety.
I get like that about my dog.
Oh, like don't even get me started about animals. People, I'm like, if they're not in my family, I'm like, whatever. But like animals, like the only movie I really cried at was Babe, Pig in the City when the little dog died and he goes up to heaven and he goes back.
I can't even watch it. I don't even know.
He's like a zombie pig.
No.
No. What? No, he died and he came back?
God. Well, no, because it was his spiritual journey. It wasn't his time.
Oh, I see.
Okay, Frankenweenie though, like
tears.
I was traumatized, and my dad was like, "But you, like, my dad thought he was doing a great thing, taking me as like an 8-year-old to see
because it's a Disney."
Yeah, and I was like
traumatized,
could not stop crying, like to the point where like the manager of the theater like was like, "Should I call the cops? Like, are you okay?" Yeah. And I was like. I just saw Frankenweenie, and my dad was like, I don't get it. She loves Tim Burton.
We don't know what's wrong with her.
Yeah, and I was like, a dog died. That's what's wrong with me, man. Like
that film really made kids think about death and then bringing people back and it not being right.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks Disney. Of course, in every Disney film, every good Disney film, like the parent dies in the first 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, I have another Halloween trivia. This one is movie related. That's why we're gonna do it. La 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 la. I have it here.
find it.
I promise. I know. What was the first horror film to win an Academy Award?
The Exorcist.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
It earned 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Supporting Actress for Linda Blair. And you probably know this. There is a 200. Oh, that's more trivia. I mean, with Stephanie here, it could be anything, by the way. A $200 million contract just to get this deal done. They are doing another Exorcist trilogy. So whether the first one does well or not, they're still making the two. And Ellen Burstyn is coming back and reprising her role.
No.
Holy
shit. She's one of my...
She's everything.
Everything. Requiem for a Dream? We're giving away the prizes. But she's coming back. Linda Blair's not coming back, but she's coming back for 3 movies.
Wow. I think it's because, I mean, if I very much enjoy the Ed and Lorraine Warren, all of those movies.
Let's talk about that, shall we?
I love them. I think
the first one was amazing.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm obsessed with the Warrens.
I love like the actual. I love watching the movies and then digging into the Wikipedia,
reality,
like what happened.
You don't think the movies got really unraveled and bad? I mean, Annabelle.
Which what is this?
Because it's The Conjuring, but then it's also the Annabelle movies,
okay.
and then it's the what's the other ones? The Nun.
The Nun.
Yeah. And it was like Annabelle goes to prom. Ooh.
Right.
It's like ridiculous.
Sorry, Stephanie.
No, she could kick Annabelle's ass. She's like,
yeah.
You don't think the movies have gotten so bad? Did you see the last one?
I think when you make a lot of money doing anything, you can get a little lost. But did you guys see the last couple?
I saw the last one and I was so disappointed because it's going to be the scariest ever and blah blah blah.
Well, it is so hard to make a horror film. It is so hard to say something that has not been said before.
Midsummer.
28 Days Later.
Scream.
We could go on.
I mean,
Scream. The scariest thing is, thank God they didn't bring Courtney Cox's bangs back. That was like,
How many Screams are there though?
But now
like
there's
five?
there's a new Scream, and they're all mostly. I think all of them are reprising their roles.
But also, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Come on, that's
a new
fucking throwback.
TV show.
That's so good.
And
That's a
now
new
they're
TV show.
they're redoing that, so they're rehashing old shit again.
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to The Conjuring, though, I think like the first one was so good.
It
and
was so good.
scary, but I feel like that set such a high standard for the rest of them that like going a little campy might have been like the best approach because I don't know how you could have topped that.
Yeah.
Even though they're all based on like real cases, like even this last one was based on a real case, but you kind of have to go a little campy because it's just like I don't know how they could have topped that first one. Like it's my favorite movie. It takes me to my happy place. That's what I watch when I need to relax.
Plus, when we look at the history,
The Conjuring. That's your calm down movie.
That's my
that's a
happy place
Christmas
movie,
story.
yeah.
Like at Christmas, it's like, hey, let's watch The Conjuring.
I can't.
But the Warrens were pioneers in this whole field, and we talked about like the Travel Channel is now doing
Travel.
But like the History Channel, remember when it was like history, and now it's ancient aliens and aliens in the Bible and aliens go to the market. But the mainstream is now thinking about these things. When UFO experts first came out, it's like they are messed up. And now we have documentaries about them. Now we have politicians talking about UFOs. And the same thing with paranormal. Now people are talking about the paranormal out in the open. And this is, I think, the legacy that the Warrens started with their... they were in the public eye, yes, but they were also starting to talk about these themes, and they were talking about the themes of like demonology and that kind of sense of evil in the world. So let's talk about this because this is a topic, and I want all y'all's opinion. The whole idea of demons and evil in the world. We know the concept of hell was kind of manufactured by a religion, but it's very easy to put all the bad on the world on this evil sense or somebody's possessed by the devil. I want to know from your point of view, because you have literally dipped your toe into demonology. From your point of view, what is a demon? What is an evil spirit? Is it legitimate, or again, is it something that we are manifesting?
It's both. It's both, honestly. And I mean, it can be a whole manner of things, but just to get to the essence of it, what is a demon or an evil spirit? Well, a demon is a demon, so it's its own thing. It's its own type of spirit.
Is it faith-based?
No, because we see demons in all religions, all cultures, spanning throughout all of time. Even like we were just talking about The Exorcist, Pazuzu, is ancient Mesopotamia. And so we have that. And so that's not something that we're going to be like, oh, that's related to Satan and in this biblical sense that we think of now. But we have all sorts of different demons and stuff that kind of span through all different cultures. So it just depends on who you talk to. So even though, the concept of hell is something that's manufactured, demons aren't. But then we also have things that are just evil spirits, because humans are spirits. They're not demons, but they're spirits. Are there evil people?
Yes.
Yes.
I've dated a few.
So you've dated something like a dummy demon.
A slut demon. Where's that demon?
We also have things though that are turning into more well-known spirits now, things called tulpas. And a tulpa is basically kind of like what you're saying, is this something that we're manifesting? And we do see these kinds of things too. And it's when there is enough people believing in something and talking about it, we give it life. And so we are seeing new demons kind of come to the forefront here that I think are definitely on the precipice of becoming tulpas. And like, I think like a really easy example of this is like everything on Reddit, like Slender Man.
Yes.
So many people are starting to believe that Slender Man is real, and
what's Slender Man?
Are you kidding right now?
You gotta watch the
I don't know if you want to do this.
I don't know what that means. Tell me. Somebody.
And there is a movie.
There's a movie.
But there's a documentary too.
Yeah.
We have the
Tell me Slender Man
story aficionado. Yes.
Thank you. So like Slender Man was like a slender dark figure that would come out randomly, but it was like a whole it was like a Reddit thing. And then 2 girls killed their classmate because they thought she was Slender Man or something like that. And so like it was actually like a fake thing that became reality because these 2 girls chose to do that and like got so wrapped up. And it was super scary looking. Like he's terrifying. Look at that. Like that's terrifying.
But was that like a movie, or is
they made a movie out of it?
They eventually turned it into a movie. I think he started as like a short story, or it was even like a graphic design kind of thing that popped up on the internet on something like Reddit, and then people just started contributing their own stories. And at one point, it was even like this little video game that you could play, and everyone told me it was terrifying. I have terrible hand-eye coordination, so I was just struggling trying to navigate how to move. So like Slender Man ate me or did whatever he does like in the video game. So, but it was freaky. It's super freaky. And so these little girls stabbed their friend. I don't know if she died. She died.
Oh God.
But here's something people believed in.
Yeah, and so the idea of manifesting that maybe this has become real because we've all put our energy into it. But people have started to share pictures from the past, and there's like a Thin Man figure in pictures that were taken years ago.
Okay. So this is not about Slender Man for a second, but when you walked in today and you had your doll and you told me about Stephanie. Stephanie's the doll. And I was like, I was sitting there saying, yes, okay, I agree. I'm not going to be a dick to Stephanie. Stephanie is real. I don't want to piss Stephanie off. But I also was thinking, like, is this real? What is going on? So we're sitting here as a panel. All of a sudden, my microphone and my sound goes out. This literally happened today. And I was like, what's going on? And our sound person said, like your cords are tangled. My mic got pulled out. And I was like, was that because I was doubting Stephanie and I was trying to mask it? And I have to just say this because there was this moment of like, I don't know if I necessarily believe that, or like I feel like that's a little, and I don't mean this to be offensive at all in any way. It's like meeting someone who is a witch and who is somebody who can bring spells and bring this kind of life to, and that's your job and that's your profession and that's your reality. For me, it's like I've never really met anyone that's like that, and I'm sitting here, sorry Stephanie, I was just like a little doubty, and then she pulled out my plug and she was like, no more sound. So
she's like, no more talking for
I
you.
feel like that has to be something, right?
I have to tell you, her first time on the show, I was skeptical. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm telling you, there's an energy from Stephanie, and I'm telling you, the first time she was on the show, the light literally like it blew up, and then it was like there was technical stuff going on, and then it was spending time with Stephanie. I think she's been on the show. This is her 4th time, I think.
Something like that.
You really feel a presence, and in my mind, Stephanie is Stephanie. It's not. She's
you
not
build
just
a
a doll.
relationship
Yeah.
with her, right? Yeah. But just to what you were saying, though, it's not offensive. I think that being skeptical is very healthy, and even with what I do, when people tell me things, there's this level of really, did that really happen? But I think it's good to be that way because it keeps you grounded. You have to have one foot in the mundane, one foot in the magical. So like being skeptical is cool, and you apologize. So I'm sure you guys are friends now.
We're good. We're good, Stephanie. Thanks, girl.
Well, and in your world travels, and you've literally traveled the globe. How has your experience with people that are spiritual, faithful, supernatural, is that part of your world journey? Can you share a little bit?
I mean, it's interesting that you say like the faithful element, because right now I have a video that's on TikTok that's going viral or
like
whatever.
the Thin Man.
But I'm getting a lot of a lot of faithful hate, a lot of
What is it? I gotta know.
So I did a video for Spirit Week, which was
Roll the clip.
Hello, where's the clip?
Right, honey, right.
It was basically a video just saying like I stand with LGBTQ youth, and like the reason I have a queer travel show is to pave a way so that hopefully at some point in the future there doesn't have to be a queer travel show. There can just be a travel show. But for right now, there needs to be a queer travel show, because the amount of attacks and hate and like rhetoric of just like verses and psalm quotes and people just coming for me based on faith, it's a lot. And I'm 37. I've been through a lot of my life, and I can take that and I can make funny parody videos of that and I can move on. But for the 16-year-old kid, which I once was, that contemplates taking their life because they don't feel valid, because they don't feel accepted. And now with social media, like I didn't have that as a kid. I didn't have any of the fun little apps that we have now. So I mean, it's a different beast. So I'd say that's where faith comes in, the faith play of what you asked. But in general, traveling the world, I just, really want to lift people up. I want to lift up marginalized voices. I want to lift up voices of people that might not be able to share their story publicly, that I can help share that. And, whatever kind of spirits we all are in this room together tonight, and as different as we all are, we are, I think, at the same point wanting to lift up people and lift up, voices that do matter. And whether it's ghosts or whether it's Stephanie, hey girl, I love you, you're real, or films or comedy or like whatever, I just feel like we all want to lift that up. So yeah.
Well, and to that message, like you mentioned, there's a lot of similarities in every single religion story, such as the angel figure, such as the reincarnation type of, rebirth and this kind of cleansing and coming back. It's in every single religion. And so we are all connected on some level. We all share a passion towards something, whatever that is. But my own relationship with religion is very difficult, as I'm sure a lot from the LGBTQ community can say. The new issue of Metrosource that I wrote is my interview with David Archuleta, who is still very Mormon. He took 2 years off of his career to do his mission, and the whole interview was about Jesus, the higher power, God bless, and it was all of this religious verbiage, which for me, from what I've been through with the Catholic Church, was very difficult to get through. It's like, well, how do you write an article about that? But you have to look at it from, he is so confident in his relationship with whatever he, attaches himself to. And that is admirable. And maybe that kind of talk is our bridge to some of these conservative religious factions that don't understand us as a people. And so maybe we need to not be so angry from the experiences that we've gone through, but take a breath and be like, okay, well, that's the truth for him. Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult because we've all been so damaged.
Well, I did not grow up religious. My parents would never force anything on me. I mean, that isn't to say that there wasn't like troubles, but I didn't have the trouble of religion on top of the other troubles. My husband definitely grew up in a very religious family, so but that also affected him. Somebody like David Archuleta And I remember seeing him on TV and thinking, like, what a sweet, sensitive soul that this person is. And, like, that's the vibe he gave out. And then he came out as, but is it bisexual?
No, he originally came out as a member of the LGBTQ community. But
member.
Yes.
Yeah.
Initially, he was a little bit more emphatic about his role in what letter, but now he's asexual. He doesn't feel that kind of sexuality, but he is part of our community. That's what he says.
And here's where I'm going with it, is that it's still like this ingrained homophobia with yourself of not accepting yourself fully and really trying to be somebody else to be another person for somebody else.
By that same token, everybody has their journey, so maybe he's not there yet. And for him to even come out saying that he is part of our community is huge at the loss of his fans, at the loss of his own church. So that does take courage, which I admire.
Yes, it does.
But Shana, I want to ask you. You know, I haven't seen you for like 2 years. In that, I think it's actually even been more.
You know, it might have been. It's been a hot minute.
Because my grandma hadn't passed yet, and that's been 3 years as of this month. Because of her passing and everything involved, I have since become atheist. So from you having such a connection with the afterlife and the spiritual world, how do you explain or how do you address somebody who is an atheist about that part of life?
Well, I mean, I try not to push my own beliefs on anyone. So if you say, hey, I'm atheist, I don't believe that there's anything past this, I'm going to respect that. I'm going to respect that because at the end of the day, like, I can't, who am I to say that that's not true?
But you've had connection with the afterlife.
Yeah. For me, that's my reality, and this is my experience in life and my journey. Like, even just like kind of the concept and idea of reincarnation, a lot of people believe that we're supposed to reincarnate to experience every different type of life lesson. Like, in this life, I am experiencing these things and I believe it. Maybe in my next life, I'll be an atheist. Maybe I'll be a Catholic. I don't know. You know, but in this one, so it's like if you're atheist, like I respect that. And at any time, if you decide that you're curious about something or you need to kind of explore that and I can give you my input, that's cool. If you're like, hey, Shana, you're weird and I love your weirdness, but keep it over there, that's cool too. And that's kind of where I see it, because it's something where I feel like so many people have grown up having some kind of religious or spiritual belief shoved down their throat that it just leaves this really bad taste in your mouth, and it can give you huge identity issues even later in life. So it's just something where, you know, if there's something that you want to talk about and you want to hear my experience or my opinion, awesome. If you don't, no problem. We can find something else to talk about.
So would you say that you're not in the religious realm at all?
I'm pagan, so
And what does pagan exactly mean?
Pagan's kind of an umbrella term, honestly. So, like a lot of people go straight to like Wicca when they think of a witch, and they're like, "Oh, you're Wiccan," and that is a branch of witchcraft, which is technically a religion. But not everybody that's a witch has to be religious or be a certain kind of witch. The store that I work at, the Green Man store, 2 of the owners are Jewish. And they're witches. So, you know, it can really be
mysticism
anything.
does have a lot of history in traditional Jewish faith.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And so being a witch, you can find a witch in any religion. But for me specifically, it's more of an umbrella term used for mostly nature-based religions, but also just polytheist religions. So technically I am a strega. So I practice Italian witchcraft, and I do go off of the strega belief system. So that is a religion in its own.
What ties does it have to like a religion that we would easily recognize? Like, is it Christian based? Is it?
Well, you do see a lot of similarities with Wicca. So anyone that's well versed in Wicca can look at Strega and be like, "Oh, I see a lot of similarities." And it's because the founder of Wicca actually talked to a lot of Stregas and based that from there. Because Wicca's actually from the 1950s is when it was founded.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
In my mind, it was some like ancient.
Wow. Whoa. Yeah.
It's based off of a lot of Yes, Stephanie did. Wicca's based off of a lot of ancient belief systems, so you will see it there. But because there's such a heavy Catholic presence in Italy, you will also see today a lot of the uses of the saints, of the Virgin Mary, and things. And so some people are like, well, that's kind of sacrilegious, don't you think? But what really happened was a lot of these old witches didn't want to give up their beliefs and their relationships with their pagan gods. So they made a relationship with the saints in correlation and kind of intertwined the two. So if you know anything about Catholicism or you know anything about Wicca and you look at Strega, you'll be like, I see what's happening here.
That's interesting. And I went to a few voodoo ceremonies when I was in New Orleans, and there's also a heavy presence of saints from the Catholic Church. Even Mary in Latino witchcraft plays a very big part too.
You'll see a lot of the saints and the angels and things like that in anything where you see like a very heavy Catholic presence, because before Catholicism was there was some kind of witchcraft. There was some kind of spiritual base that people didn't want to get rid of, but they had to take underground, so they masked it through religion. And that's where we see a lot of like the power of like these saint candles. People still do that. Or like, I don't know if anyone else grew up, you lost something and your grandmother told you to ask Saint Anthony.
Yeah. Yes, I lost my wallet yesterday, and I'm atheist, but here I am like, come on, Saint Anthony, just give me one.
Oh my God.
I have him on speed dial.
That's so funny.
And these are stuff that were ingrained.
Oh.
That's scaring the shit out of me, by the way. But these are things that are ingrained in us, like to wear scapular, and then if you die, you'll go straight to heaven. I mean, these are the ridiculous things that we're...
But it's hard to shake, right? Even
it
now,
is.
like that you've gotten
like
older.
I said yesterday, I lost my wallet, and I'm like, St. Anthony. Okay, some Halloween trivia. How many pounds of candy corn are produced each year? A, 3 million, B, 14 million, C, 35 million, or D, 100 million?
Nobody likes candy corn anymore.
C.
Was it ever good?
I want to say B.
I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to go C.
I'm going to go A, because nobody's eating that shit.
It's C. It's 35 million pounds of candy corn made every year, amounting to 9 billion pieces. And so this is just a little trivia. Candy corn was not called candy corn, and it wasn't released during the Halloween time. It was never a Halloween candy. Sales did so poorly that these bags of candy just stockpiled, and so there was in October, I forget which candy company. It's on the History Channel.
It's Brock's.
It's on Triple Channel.
Yeah, it's on
there's a whole true crime thing with that.
Oh, okay. You have to tell. This is from Jen, who a Touch from the Past podcast. So can you share a little bit?
Yeah. So the woman who married like the like Prince of Brock's candy. She was murdered. Like, so he died. She was much younger than him. She died, and like they built their wealth on like this like quick to do candy. This like they figured out a process to like not caramelize candy. It was something about like the sugaring process, so they could like quickly make it and sell it. And then candy corn just like blew the hell up. And then she married him because she was I believe she was like a dancer. And this was like way back in the day. This was like the 30s or something.
I think she was like a burlesque fan dancer.
Yeah, and then like he married her, and he died, and like they were very much in love. He died, and then she built this like crazy large tomb for him and their 2 dogs that eventually died. And then
I am fascinated.
No, it is
actually
This is the candy corn.
This is the candy corn truth right now.
Is this the Brock's family story?
Yeah. And so they didn't have children. So this is like where Brock's the like actual line of the lineage stops.
And how do you know this? How are you?
She's an aficionado of all things creepy and history. This is literally what your podcast is.
Yes, this is. We didn't do an episode about this, but like I just like look at stuff. Like that's all I do. Like this is like my thing that I do. And so she was murdered, but like it was super sketchy, and it was this guy who is like, am I just talking to women who are lonely, or am I a murderer? And of course, it was in like the 40s. So it was, I believe it may not have been the 40s, but they never actually, it's like an unsolved crime to this day.
What?
That's fascinating.
There we are. But the candy corn initially sat on shelves until they branded it for Halloween season, and then that's when it totally blew up.
Okay, sorry, I take it back about candy corn entirely.
Oh, no, I don't like it either.
Now you're going to be like, I'm eating murder candy. Like, I can just see you, Aaron.
Stephanie, how do you feel, Stephanie, about candy corn?
I mean, I think she's a fan. I'm excited, but I'm like, really, murder candy. I like this.
Yeah.
So Jen, let's talk about your podcasting. Why are we so obsessed with true crime murders, and then why are we so obsessed with ghost stories? Ghost stories are he said, she said. Like, we can't substantiate any of them, but we can't. Whenever somebody tells a ghost, I mean, that's why campfires, like, you know, why are we so obsessed?
I think it's just fascinating, and it's just good storytelling. Like, if you're a good storyteller, it'll show and it'll like pass through. I think that's the thing. Like, because I mean, as a kid, like, I'm a storyteller in comedy.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when I was like 5, my kindergarten teacher was like, good storytelling. Like, no joke. I don't know if she was secretly doing the moth on the weekends or what, but like, and it's weird because later I found out that my librarian for elementary school, she actually was like a moth winning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in like Philadelphia. So I was like,
She shaped you.
she did in a way. And so like, it's really, it's fun. And it's like, I think it all comes down to storytelling. And then like, it's recently I've had like a moment with true crime because of like the whole Gabby Petito thing and like the white woman missing syndrome and like all that. So it's like I'm having like a moment with myself of like, I don't know that this is necessarily the best thing to do. And I think that not everybody is getting a moment. We're not all searching for the same people. You know what I mean? Like, we're definitely not giving the same media coverage to minorities, and I think that's not right. And but as far as ghost stories go, I think, you know, it is storytelling.
Were you always interested in the supernatural or history?
Yes, both. I would say because like X-Files was like a big thing when I was a really little kid.
Because Gillian Anderson. Okay, girl, I see you.
Exactly. I'm not gonna lie to you. Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't for David Duchovny.
I love how Gillian Anderson is a lesbian, but she's not a lesbian.
Yeah.
It's not like we're like, lesbian Gillian Anderson is in a new film. We're like, Gillian Anderson is winning another Emmy and she's in The Crown. We're not having to say gay, lesbian. Yeah. We don't have to use that label with her because she surpassed that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, let's all start doing that. Jen, and what I love about your, and this is how we met. You and I were both guests on our friend Jeff Marx's podcast. And there's a difference between stand-up comedy and there's a difference between comedic storytelling. I love storytelling. If you ask me to go to an improv and sit there and like listen to vulgar joke and poop jokes, and no. What you do is so masterful and so well crafted. How do you craft a story? Is it like you're outlining it out, or it's just coming out?
No, I do a vague outline and then it kind of comes out.
Now, I also know that you have a lot of history in LA, and Shana, I know used to do LA like murder tours and ghost tours throughout the city. Jen, do you have a great LA either murder story or ghost story that's like the best one that just like you just instantly gravitate towards?
Yeah, I think like it's not my personal story, but it's the Jackie Hernandez story. Do you know her?
I'm tried. I'm like, I know this name. It's registering.
Well, it's technically San Pedro, but and it's like new to me. But she moved into a house in the late '80s in San Pedro after a divorce, and she was like 8 months pregnant when she got divorced, and she like as soon as she moved in, it was like weird things were happening. Like there was like a shed in the back, and there was always like a light on, but it was like nobody was in there. And then she would wake up and while she was pregnant, she would see a man like sleeping in her bedroom, and she just thought it was like pregnancy hallucinations. And she said that doesn't happen. But so she just chalked it up to that. And then even after her baby was born, and even after her baby was like a toddler, nothing was like this was happening, but like it was already like no pregnancy hormones were like in her body. So she started doing research, and what she found was a man who had lived in her home had been murdered by drowning in the bay, like the nearby bay. And so that was really what the haunting was. And so like once she and her family kind of made peace with that, everything like the strange things started to kind of tamper down, and it stopped. But she had a son, and he was like deeply traumatized, but kind of like found some solace in it. But yeah.
They had some like really extreme happenings though, because I do remember hearing about this case, and it wasn't just like some spooky stuff. Like it was pretty extreme. And I think there was a lot of witnesses to this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It is possible to coexist happily with ghosts, yes?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people do it all the time. Like at least 1 in 5 people will be like, "Oh yeah, I grew up in a haunted house."
Well, I was just thinking of Stephanie and how many. My entire house is thrift store and estate sales. So
yeah, see, so it absolutely happens. So I kind of wonder how many people do the thrift store and estate sale thing, not thinking about that, and bring home haunted stuff.
I do now, where I think of, I'm feeling very strange today, and I look at the clock on the wall, and like, I bought her from Rue McClanahan, and you know,
that's a good ghost though.
Yes,
I mean, yeah. Ravi, have you ever stayed at a place around the world and you're like, something's not?
Yes, there was a place I stayed in Seattle. I cannot remember the name of the place in Seattle.
Was it Aaron's house?
Maybe you can.
It was Aaron's Airbnb.
Maybe actually you can bring me back, but it was haunted. It was a haunted hotel.
Old, new,
old.
Everything haunted.
An
has
old
to be
hotel.
Old.
No,
and I checked in, and they were like, "This is a haunted house. This is a haunted hotel," and I just felt uncomfortable. I didn't feel any spirits. I didn't feel anyone. It was like coming in through the doors or through the rooms.
But you couldn't sleep.
The hotel
Yeah.
St. Petri. Say
it one more time.
He's gonna manifest in front of us. Keep going.
Yes, it was.
But I wonder it's because they told you it was haunted.
They told me it was haunted, so I feel like it was like a Disney haunted. But otherwise, no. I mean, every time I go into a hostel, I'm like, is this going to be Hostel?
Although
like
I kind of do feel like when I ride the rides at Disney World or Disneyland,
well, people have died on.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's this experience that's happening.
Well, I think at Disneyland too, like a lot of people try and have their loved ones scatter their ashes there.
Oh my God, yes.
That's happened.
So that's a thing.
Even like the haunted mansion in It's a Small World. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you want that to be your final resting place? It's a small.
Like, if you have a
world.
friend
Awful.
that's like on the, I don't know. I want my ashes in space. Like that's what I want.
Well, you know, but interesting with the ashes thing. So I actually would love to.
That's because I actually have a few questions about ashes.
So my mom died last year, and she was
cremated. I did not know that.
Thank you. But she was cremated, and she's total hippie, and was like, I want my ashes to be cremated and then spread into the world. So this happens, and it was October 20th of last year. A week later, I go to the Poconos with my friends, and we get this house, and we're sitting in the hot tub, and all of a sudden, there's this like crazy fog, but I just felt this like weird like connection. I'm like, is this like my mom coming in saying hello? Like, is that a thing, or is that just me being like super emotional and there's the fog? Because her ashes were spread about 20 minutes away from where we were a week prior.
Oh, that's awesome. No, it totally could have been a spirit message. And that's the thing about spirit messages, and when they come to kind of just say hi and kind of like give you a nudge, is sometimes it's really subtle, and if you're not paying attention or you're not listening to your intuition, you could completely miss it. In that moment, you keyed into it, so you just knew like, okay, it's mom. Where there might be other times that she's kind of poked at you and you may have just totally like been really preoccupied. But yeah, that could have absolutely been something. And since you just kind of knew and you're like, okay, this is weird, I don't know why I'm feeling this is her, like she was just saying hi. Other really common ones are like perfume. That's a really big one. Or like some kind of signature scent of some sort. Like you're like, oh, I like a lot of people be like, I smell cigarettes and my grandfather was a heavy smoker or something like. So you always want to look for different scents too. But it could be like a fog thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I like that.
And I
though.
told my friends that I was in the hot tub with them. I was like, and I just lost my shit because they all knew. Obviously, they knew my mom died, but I was like, this is like a weird, foggy moment that's happening with all of us right now. And they were just like there with me, you know? It was like that really special moment.
That's actually really, really sweet. And just so you know, sometimes with fog and certain mythology and lore, people believe that you can see spirits through fog.
Oh, wow.
And there's even like in certain places, if the fog is heavy enough, if you were looking at, for instance, a tree, it's going to look like it's moving.
Mm-hmm.
And so people would say like you could peer through fog to see nature spirits and different things like that too.
Can I ask something on the opposite side of that? You know, I lost my grandma, and my grandma and I were like super, super close. And so after she passed, I thought, I'm going to be visited in my dreams. I'm going to feel her essence. I'm going to smell her perfume. I'm going to have some connection. There's been a dream here and there, but like small little blips. I'm like, we were so close.
That's
How is
so
there
common,
no...
especially because of how close that you were. Because you have to think about like, even just like the dreams that you've had, even like for instance, like with my dad, when he passed, I've had a dream about him, and literally he was like, I can't stay that long. I'm like, yeah, but he's like, okay, well, I gotta go, bye. And I'm like, that's it. But even that was a really emotional experience. So like your dreams, even though just the few you've had, they're emotional, right?
Yeah.
It takes spirits a lot to try and communicate or try and visit. I will say the fact that she visited you in a dream is a wonderful sign that she has done the healing work and things that she needed to cross over to visit you. But it takes a lot of energy, and it's something that's not just emotional for you, it's emotional for her. Mm-hmm. So it's actually very common, especially the closer you are with the person, that they don't visit you as much, because there's a lot of pain there. Even though there's a lot of love, there's a lot of emotions to kind of pierce through, which it can be energetically taxing. But it is the time for it, though. Like right now, it's Halloween at Samhain, so it's a really wonderful time. If you had something that you wanted to say to her or something like that, build an ancestral altar, even if all it's going to be is a picture of her with, you know, a shot of her favorite drink, and write her a letter and just maybe tell her, like, you know, we were so close and I love you so much, and this is still hard for me 3 years later, but can you say hi to me once in a while? Can I get a whiff of your perfume? Like, it would make me feel better to know that you visit. And, you know, maybe it'll take a couple months for her to be able to do that, because she's got to work through that too. But you might be surprised at how receptive she might be.
I have to tell you, I was raised in a Latin household, but we really didn't subscribe to a lot of the Latin cultural traditions. It took a movie, Coco, believe it or not, for me to really understand Day of the Dead, because I always thought it was some, like, piñata-filled quinceañera, right? And I'm not being racist, I'm just saying that, like, that was just my idea. And then understanding what that day really means, it's such a special day that I wish all cultures would incorporate.
Absolutely. And not only is it a special day, what I love about Day of the Dead is that it's colorful and it's festive and it's alive. It's so happy. Yeah, and I just love that, because, you know, with like Samhain and what you kind of see with like a lot of like witches and other cultures, it's like we still, you know, observe the dead and honor them, but it's very somber and very sad and heavy. And so my first time celebrating Day of the Dead, I was like, this is where it's at. This is what it's all about, because you should be happy. You should be celebrating, because the real truth of immortality is telling people's stories. That's how we keep their spirits alive. And Day of the Dead is such a happy way to do that, to just share that day with your ancestors. I love it.
Well, and that's your storytelling too.
Well, Alexander, I'm curious, like you mentioned being atheist now, and what does that mean to you? Like, I mean, what does that, how does that manifest in your life?
I don't, it's funny, because how we're ingrained, like we just resort to. So like if I have a dream with my grandma, I'm like, oh, she's trying to contact me, or I'm even asking you right now. Whereas an atheist, I really don't believe in life after death. I don't believe in any of the religious aspect. I went to Israel for like 2 weeks and I studied.
Well, where does that come from? Not to like sort of like be your therapist right now.
Catholic Church. No, like I was raised in the Catholic Church. And so I'm like just, the whole experience with my grandma's passing and the family and the church and all that was just such an awful experience. And so there's just been this, like, when we look at it, it's another fairy tale that we've been told that has been used to persecute a lot of people and make us feel bad about ourselves. And this if you look at the whole idea of God, that he's going to punish us all the time, or he's going to kill most of us whenever we have to, come for, like, it's like, what God does that? Right.
Well, certainly I don't, I mean, I didn't grow up religious, so I'm coming from a place of just openness and like trying to know. So hearing like a story of like hurt.
So I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I was lead cantor for 3 different churches for 13 years. I gave weddings, funerals. I was singing 6 masses a weekend. I mean, I was doing all the behind the scenes work. Like, the Catholic Church was literally what I was doing for my whole entire life. Like I said, I went to Israel, and I just, I brought my boyfriend to Easter Sunday service, and I kissed him at the sign of peace. I didn't tongue kiss him. I literally kissed him on the cheek. The next week, I was fired from all 3 churches by email without anything after 13 years of service. I've seen how other people have been treated in the Catholic Church. And I was behind the scenes, so I saw how the priests were. One of the priests, we would have to get him because he was drinking in the rectory and he was like drop dead drunk. We'd have to get him to come to Mass. I saw priests that were so selfish that they wouldn't talk to the congregation after, especially with people that were hurting. You know, and I saw that more often than not. And so it's like, that's not what a priest is supposed to be. So I saw the reality of it. And at this point, it's like, you know, the whole idea of like heaven and hell and all that has all just been manufactured.
Yeah.
And most of what's, you know, with the Catholic Church has been manufactured, such as, you know, Mary was a virgin all the time, and even like the body and blood of Christ, you know, and it's like, well, nobody really subscribes to everything for that faith, so nobody should be going to communion.
Certainly. I completely agree with that. And I wandering around town today, and I went into this store called Wacko.
Oh, Wacko's fun.
Oh, I know. That's
Yeah.
What's Wacko?
It's like a fun. It's like a fun, interesting store, but then it has like a kind of religious element.
Yeah, well, it has a ton of really fantastic photography books that you don't usually see in a lot of bookstores, and there was a whole I kind of just got enamored in the satanic section, and about Anton LaVey, and about the Church of Satan, and how the history of that, and how it wasn't actually about the devil, and it was like very like a huge connection to Hollywood and fame, and it's fascinating to read about, but also it's like these people, like, this is how they made their money. So it's like in sort of the yin and the yang of, like, say, the people that are making money off of like Christ. It's like Anton LaVey.
Bestseller is the Bible.
Yeah, Anton LaVey wrote the
Satanic Bible.
The Satanic Bible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's still a bestseller.
Well, there's a documentary about the Satanic Temple that's gone viral, and now we know with Texas, with the abortion restrictions, now if you subscribe to the Satanic Temple, there's certain ways to work around some of the restrictions.
Yeah, so
correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. The Church of Satan, which is what you're talking about, is different from the Satanic Temple, though. So yeah, so they are different, but they sound similar, so they do get commonly mixed up. But the Satanic Temple is doing some really amazing work for just equal rights across the board for every issue.
Isn't that insane?
Wonderful
But
work.
our connotation is like they're sacrificing goats and they're worshiping evil, and that's
eating
not
babies, and that's what you think,
Yeah.
you know, and that's your mind goes to these really negative places. But they actually have, it's like the 7 tenets that they have, and they're actually really like beautiful. I don't have them all memorized, but like one is like to strive to live and treat everything with compassion. And to like
love one another as I have loved you.
Basically,
it sounds more Christian than it does
that's
what
evil.
You would think basically the whole thing is don't be a dick. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Value science.
The
That's
golden
actually
rule.
one of them,
Yeah.
basically. But they're, as far as I can tell, they're doing it right. And so yeah, they are definitely stepping up and helping women in Texas right now, because they do have a satanic abortion ritual. So you know that 6-week law does not apply if you are registered with the Satanic Temple as a member, which you can do online for free.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And they take all sorts of stuff to court, and they're trying to just be the voice for people, and they do amazing work.
We are in such an interesting time right now.
Yeah.
Like it's anybody's game. Okay, we didn't get to your biggest fear or your biggest fear, by the way.
Okay, well, you guys had some like really good, profound ones.
Really?
I think. I've got 2, and I think they're both pretty ridiculous. My current one that still plagues me constantly is cockroaches. I can't. I will turn into just
so
a puddle
gross.
of screaming and tears.
Really?
I can't look at them on a TV.
Over spiders?
Oh yeah, spiders no problem. Wasps don't care. None of it. Cockroaches, like I can't.
Is it the glistening like shell, or
I
what
don't.
is it?
I can't see. I'm thinking about them, and it's starting to freak me out. So that's like a whole thing. But One fear that I've had since a little kid, again, I was a weird kid, spontaneous combustion.
Oh,
Do you know that you are not the first person?
I would love to spontaneously combust, and that be the end.
But nobody can explain it. And you probably have stories about this too. And there's pictures. You Google, people
And
have
you'll see their
literally incinerated
shoes.
themselves and they're just like a little ash.
Yeah, but like they'll leave like the shoes, which is like
What do
the
you
thing.
think it is?
I don't know, but like I used to like try and like keep like ice cubes in like my pocket and weird stuff. Yeah, it was. I really thought
I'm
it
not
was
laughing
gonna
at you.
be
I just
a
like
huge
yeah,
problem.
Look.
That's
Yeah,
brilliant,
see?
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're literally just a pile of ash. And
And
nobody
it's
knows
just
what.
it really freaks me out. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
So I've dated a couple of people that have that fear. They're also have a fear of sinkholes, that they're just going to be sunk.
I don't have a problem with that, but when I worked in animal hospitals, I worked doing surgery a lot, and so one of the things I had to do was switch out the oxygen tanks on the anesthetic machines a lot. That kind of freaked me out, and my husband's the one that connected. It's probably because they explode, so spontaneous combustion. So yeah, I have a thing about oxygen tanks too.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Aaron, what's your biggest fear?
I have a fear of public speaking, and
Well, you get your film festival.
You're
once you're like-
crushing it.
Yeah,
Crushing it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I grew up on horror films. I grew up on things that I shouldn't have loved but loved. One of my my mom came into Seattle a few weeks back, and I was like, I'm going on the Rocks Radio, and I want to make sure I tell the story right and true. And one of my earliest memories is I apparently begged my parents to take me to a haunted house. And this is Dayton, Ohio, 1980.
Like a real haunted house, or what are the
no.
where people jump out?
A real haunted house.
Oh.
And
so you've had a fascination for a while.
they did. They took me.
That's awesome.
And I remember one of my earliest memories is I remember being in the parking lot and so wanting to be there. However, the werewolf popped open and out of this like top corridor, and as soon as he did, I flipped out and ran. So it is kind of like this combined like wanting to be scared.
Yeah.
And the actual the reality of being scared.
It's like a roller coaster. When we're on it, we're like, "Oh my god, we're gonna die! This is horrible. Why did I do this?" And then when we're down, we're like, "Can we do it again?"
I have I guess if you ask the reality of like life versus like the fun stuff, I think the fun stuff. I've always had an affinity and connection to haunted houses and wanting to be scared.
Because it's something different. It takes us out of our element. And there's a sexiness to horror films. There's a sexiness to the grotesque. There's a sexiness to the supernatural. It's sexy.
I just went to a very sexy haunted house in
Oh.
Burbank. I don't know if
Wait,
they were...
say that again. Sexy and Burbank in the same sentence? I don't know, girl.
Yeah, no, but no. So I went to a sexy haunted house in Burbank.
Where is this?
It was called like, like
Soiree or something?
No, it was like Creepy Creek or something like that. But like there was, all right, it was like it was like kinky and like a little bit queer, like because I went with a group of queer ladies and
Where?
it was
Where is
put in
it?
quear.
weirdly in front of a church. It was like in a church's parking lot. So I was like,
We're
you
going
are
tonight.
like hit like this is super queer and kinky. So like this like one it was like a very interactive one, and like one section it was like this woman just like yelling at my friend, and my friend was like, I feel like I cheated on my partner. And I was like, I mean, I think we all feel like that. It was a lot.
Well, it is. Growing up in the Midwest, and you go to these haunted houses, and you're standing in line, and it's like the standing in line entertainment where people will walk up and freak you out. Like you turn around, and there's this person standing behind you in a very frightening mask with blood running down their face,
Sure.
and usually a real knife.
Yeah.
So it's shocking to your senses.
Yeah.
But it's so weird because we know that it's fabricated. We know, like, we're not
We
actually
know
going to
it.
die, but it's so
Yeah.
weird. Okay, I want to know, what was the worst Halloween costume you've ever worn? You're like, oh my God, that was so awful.
Can you roll the clip? Actually, it's a two-part answer. I was 10 years old, and I decided I wanted to be Madonna.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
In 5th grade. And this was 1990 or
Wow.
91. And I was determined to be Madonna. And I showed up to the bus stop, and I looked, I mean, you look a hot mess at, 10 years old, but I thought I was living. And I showed up, I went to school, everyone was fascinated, like, Aaron, oh my God, like, you're Madonna. And my mom has a different story altogether, to where I had fought her over her lace bra. Like, I was very mad.
As you do with your parents.
I was very mad I could not wear the lace bra to school. But looking back at I see the photo, and I can't believe I even was so.
But like as kids, we're innocent. Like, we don't have the pressures of the restrictions. Like, yeah, that's what your costume is.
No, I knew everyone was gonna love it. I knew it, but my parents were. I think that was one of the first, like,
maybe
Madonna.
Yeah,
Madonna.
Like a virgin no more.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Mine's not nearly as cool as being Madonna. I think my worst Halloween costume was I let my husband do, like, sugar skull makeup on me.
Oh,
and
that's so difficult.
It was like a whole, like, trust fall exercise that, like, I don't know how our relationship survived that.
You have a straight husband, so
that was my
what do they
first
know about
problem.
makeup?
Well, where I really screwed up was I didn't even look in a mirror before we left because we were in a hurry to go to a party, and so everyone was looking at me weird, and they were like, Shana? And I'm like, finally I went into the bathroom, and it was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was terrible. It did not look like anything, but it was like that sticky, like, latex makeup that was not coming off with water, so I just made it look worse, and then I looked like a drunk crying mess with it. It was a hot
Oh my
hot
God.
mess.
Well, and people look to you because your looks that you put together are pretty on point, especially for your cabaret show.
Yeah, this was not nearly to that standard at all.
I feel that your son's first Halloween, he's gonna be like Pubert from Addams Family.
I already have, like, the little jumper and everything. Like, I'm waiting for it. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only reason I'd have a kid, is to, like, raise them weird.
He has all, like, just already, it's all, like, just straight Halloween wardrobe and, like, knitted old man cardigans, and I love it.
I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
an old man cardigan for a baby?
He has, like, a whole closet of them already.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even kidding. He
I
has
think-
sweater vests, too.
It's like Gomez Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Instagram should start now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so in
I'm
fourth,
feeling you have a few.
in 4th grade, this is like the worst / best. So, like, I didn't know any better, but everyone was dressing as, like, Power Rangers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was like, you know what? I'm obsessed with goats. Mom, can I use our blue sleeping bag, and can I be a blue mountain goat? And she's like, sure. So
I don't even know what's right in that sentence.
I wore a blue sleeping bag as my goat fur. I had cotton balls as my beard and drumsticks as my horn, and I was so proud marching around the elementary school. And it's made fun of by so many people, but I didn't give a fuck, and I just lived my blue mountain goat life. So best and worst and everything.
But that's what you're doing now. We have a picture of you and a llama, by the way, and the llama's like, this bitch.
Well, truth.
Jen.
Okay. So, only like 4 years ago, I went to work as Kathy Bates from Fried Green Tomatoes.
Oh my.
With the saran wrap?
Yes!
Oh my God! That is amazing. I'm sorry, that is amazing.
Thank
Can
you.
we
That's
see?
amazing.
Can we
I-
really
Roll
see
the-
the photo?
roll the footage.
This is what I want. No, it's not on her
I do
social
have a
media.
photo of it, and I'll send it later.
Yeah.
It was, in my opinion, amazing. Like, I thought deep and hard about this. I was like, I feel like this is a queer film, and I want to do it right. It's amazing. And so I, like, specifically was like, I'm going to be Kathy Bates in this moment. And
That is so
amazing.
Awesome.
thank you. And only like 3 people got it at work.
But you know what? Like
Thank
You said at work. Wait a minute. What?
I would
I was
have.
at
Party.
work.
It's like ... at work.
Yeah, at work. And like I was like, but like everyone was like, "Is this appropriate?" And I was like, "Yes, it's Kathy Bates."
That's great.
That's awesome.
That's really good.
Thank you.
I on par with that. I once went to a Halloween party, and I showed up, and I walked in, and it was Martha Dumbstock from Heathers. And
yes.
This guy was sitting there by himself with a neck brace on and a T-shirt that said "Big Fun."
Yeah,
and
I would have gotten
like,
that.
I was like, "This is the best Halloween costume I have ever seen in my life."
I went as Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure 2 years after the whole Kathy Bates thing.
Can you invite me to whatever party you're going to? Like, I feel like I need to go to these parties.
Okay, so like I wasn't invited to any parties this year.
But she still showed up.
But I'll show up. But I want, honestly, if I was gonna be invited, like not fishing, but like if I was gonna be invited, I would be
Arenas Road, Palm Springs.
Exactly.
You come out, girl.
Tim Curry from The Worst Witch.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Wiz.
Yes.
Big Daddy Wiz.
That's some good energy.
So I mean, Tim Curry is, I think, maybe one of my favorite actors of all time, and I have a gigantic Frankenfurter tattoo. It's like,
Oh my god.
Oh, yes. I saw this on your social media. Do you mind showing us?
You want to see it right now?
Yeah.
Can I actually? Am
Yeah.
I wearing,
It's not on a private part.
Am I wearing underwear? Like,
where is it?
No, it's amazing.
It's actually, yeah.
Yeah. No.
No, I can't.
No, I'm scared. No. Anyway, you guys
find it on Instagram. It is there.
No, it's on his Facebook and it's totally PG. Where did the real Ichabod Crane live?
New York. Oh no, I was thinking Tarrytown, New York, Sleepy Hollow.
It wasn't Sleepy Hollow.
Is it Boston?
I'm gonna say Philadelphia only because I'm from Philly.
Staten Island.
What?
What was the Munsters' address?
16, 13,
666.
13.
It's so obvious.
13.
Munster Avenue?
Not that obvious, girl.
Oh, was it Mockingbird?
Mhm.
Mockingbird Lane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
What are the numbers?
1313.
Yep.
Oh.
And we know Rob Zombie is doing the reboot.
Yeah.
And he took pictures in front of the house, and all of the pictures that he's sharing are in black and white. So speculation is that it's going to be a black and white film. This is for the win. Does anybody know what the original Halloween movie's title was? It wasn't called Halloween.
October 31st.
The Babysitter Killings.
I don't know.
You're going to win. It's actually called The Babysitter Murders.
Okay, I knew it was like the babysitter something.
Yeah. What horror film was the first American film ever to show a toilet on screen?
The Ghoulies.
Birds.
Close.
Psycho.
Boom.
I knew it.
Boom, boom, boom. All right, our final question for the night. I can't believe this is already over, by the way. God, we talked about so many real things. I was like, oh, it's going to get drunk and have fun, but we talked about real things, and that's what I love about the show. If you could connect with somebody who has passed from your life, who would it be, and what would you say? Who wants to go first?
They have to be dead.
Well...
Dead in real life, like, or dead just to me?
No.
Oh, dead in real life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it have to be a person? Could it be an animal?
Yeah. It could
Oh,
totally be
yeah,
an
that's a good
animal.
one.
I have so many like pets that have died though. Now I have to choose just one.
Which
That's
pet, though, would
hard.
you be like, why are you
One.
such an asshole?
Oh, my little like evil chihuahua that just passed away not too long ago. I mean, he was like, he had no teeth. Thank God. Like, he was dangerous.
No teeth? What did he eat?
No, like, wet food and souls. He was mean.
And
he was
souls.
mean. But he loved me, so it was great because I could care. You know what? That's who I'd talk to. I would want to tell Drifter that he was a very good boy. He loved me. We only had him for a couple months. Like, so he was like 15 when we adopted him. And he liked other people kind of, you know, in his own way. But if I was holding losing him, he hated everyone else. So I used to like sneak up behind my husband with him and have the dog like gum him to death, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Your son is so lucky. He's going to be born into such an amazing household. Love that.
I would say my cat Boxy. She was my childhood cat. And then I moved here and I would FaceTime with her on the regs. And
did you say on the regs?
On the regs.
On the regs.
I'm bringing it back.
Would she recognize you from the FaceTime?
Like, honestly, she would, because, like, she wouldn't really rub on anyone else. And then, like, when she saw me on FaceTime, she would rub on my mom or my dad, whoever was, like, FaceTiming with me. And, like, one day I, like, called my parents, and I was like, oh, I have, like, good news. I had, like, good news about something. And they were like, we have terrible news. And I was like, what? And they're like, Boxy has died. And I was like, why did you like ruin my good, like, I don't want to be like, why did you ruin my good day? But like, why didn't you tell me this like yesterday when it happened? And yeah, I guess I would just like want to tell her like I loved her and I miss her, and she was a great cat.
Do animals pass over?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and they come and they visit too. So there's been plenty of times that people have like, you know, told me things like that. And like one of my cats you'll see hanging out in the hallway, or like I've like heard like my dog's like thump of his tail like on the bed before and stuff.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So they visit. It's cute.
Are animals reincarnations of us, or are they their own?
You know what? I was actually just talking to somebody about that, because there's so many theories. And the one thing I will say is I feel like I've met one of my animals reincarnated before.
Oh.
And it was just like really weird, because this other dog just had all of her really bizarre characteristics that I still haven't seen in a pet since. So I'm pretty sure I'm like, I know you. I've met you before.
I would say I'd ask my dog Max, like, were we okay?
It all turned to like
animals.
My dog Max, like, were we all right? Were we good?
Why? What did he see?
He was traumatized. He was traumatized coming in.
He saw you.
He was traumatized coming in, but I'm like, are you all right? And like, let's have a kiki now that we're like on the same level.
I think Max voted for Trump. He's like, no.
Not a Trump dog. Not a Trump dog.
I honestly cannot believe that more than an episode is done. I have like pages and pages of like stuff, but this is what happens. You know, we have conversation with real people. All of us couldn't be more different, but we couldn't be more the same. Do you know what I mean?
Amen.
Yeah. So I thank you so much for joining me for tonight's episode. Shana, I would like to ask, what does it mean to make a spell? And can we do a spell right here and now?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I'm sure we can. Well, what it means to make a spell is, simply put, it's using your intention of what you desire, what you need, to kind of bend your reality and shift it into something different that you need. So it's taking control, basically. And you can do this simply with your intent and with your mind, because really that's what it comes down to. The power is within you. We get really cool things like spell ingredients and stuff to help us along the way sometimes.
We have flavored water and vodka.
That's actually perfect. Everyone go ahead and pour yourself a drink.
They don't call it a spirit for nothing.
Exactly. Pour yourself a drink. Get something that you got going on. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and we're going to like think of something that you want to embody, that you want to bring into your life. Okay? And when you're ready, I want you to think about it, see it, feel it, taste it, and you're going to take your drink and away from the mic so that it can be secret if you want. You're going to whisper what it is. You're going to imbue your drink with what you're going to embody right now. And you're going to imagine your drink starting to kind of like sparkle and get really bright. Like you're going to feel it in here. So go ahead and do that. And when you're ready and you see it and you can kind of feel it like coming alive in your drink, you're going to bring it into yourself. You're going to go ahead and drink it.
Wait, do I have to drink all of it?
I mean, you can try, but so mote it be, guys.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's an easy one that you can do every morning with your coffee or your tea, whatever your like morning ritual is. Like, you know, stir it clockwise and just be, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day. And you can do that. And similarly,
I actually feel more grounded, to be honest.
Right? Yeah. It's all, everything, when it really comes down to it, what magic is, it's your intention. Because that magic is within you. The whole idea is that the power and that connection that we have with the universe and whatever you think that source is, it comes from within you. So you don't need anything to craft a spell.
I love that.
I love that too.
Amen. Amen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron, tell everybody where you want them to find you and follow you.
You can find me at Aaron_Bear on Instagram. Much to Alexander's dismay, I'm still on Facebook, so I'm there as well.
I'm all for Facebook if it would work right.
And then, yes, I am. The Rick Wyland story is something that's going to keep living and growing beyond me as a filmmaker. So please find the film sometime early next year.
And it's a great film.
Thank you.
Shana.
You can find me on Instagram as Intuitive Shana, and you can book a reading with me if you wanted to at intuitiveshana.com, and we can talk all things spiritual and magic. And I do have my podcast, Wine, Spirits, and Witches, where I actually talk about all things witchcraft with my high priestess, actually.
And I binged it all today. I was like, oh my God, I can't. It's so great because it's so like centered and like down to earth. And I'll tell you, for skeptics, I was first. Remember when you first came on the show? Knowing Shana for so many years, what a gentle soul and what a real soul.
Thank you.
And you've been a friend to me many times, girl.
I love you.
And Stephanie, where can people find and follow you?
On my Instagram, she also, like, you know, every time that you guys have a pizza party, just think of her. She'll be there in spirit.
Yes.
I'm Ravi Round the World. It's RAVI Round the World, not around. It's alliteration. Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and the Gaycation Travel Show on YouTube.
And I will share, one of the episodes that really affected me that you did was in Tulsa. And it was talking about the Tulsa Massacre, something that I was so ignorant to until the last year. So, and you shed light on that. So thank you, Ravi.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jen.
I'm Jen Curcio. You can find me at Jen Curcio, CURSEO, because I'm spooky. I don't want to be like, I'm spooky, but yeah. I thought of it like a Simpsons episode, and like, what would a Simpsons episode be like? Then, yeah, you get it. So yeah, on Instagram, I'm still on Facebook, but I don't really go on Facebook, and that's about it.
I tell you, Jen is such a great storyteller.
Oh, thank you.
And can you just real fast, Tony? The Batman of Encino.
Oh my God.
Just real fast. Does everybody have time for this one last story?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Batman of Echo Park is wild. Okay, so it was 1933. This husband and wife, they owned a factory in Wisconsin, and the wife was like, I'm gonna just like breeze through this factory and pick up a little young thing to like have an affair with. And so she like started having an affair with what became the Batman of Echo Park. And the Batman of Echo Park, they moved from Wisconsin to Los Angeles to like continue their factory. It's like right off Sunset Boulevard. And she kept him she like moved him in a box across from Wisconsin to Los Angeles.
Wait, she shipped him?
She shipped him.
Like FedEx style?
She like FedEx.
Dick in a box?
Yeah, dick in a box, U-Haul style. She must have been a little bit lesbian because she U-Hauled.
Oh.
She put him in a U-Haul in a box, shipped him here, and she was like having sex with him while her husband was away, and eventually the husband was like, I'm like convinced somebody's in this house. He heard it, came down with a shotgun, and unfortunately killed the husband. They got into an altercation.
What?
Oh my God!
He was just getting out of the box.
He had his own hours, like he could make noise and whatever. He literally was like.
I didn't know this was a true story. I've heard this. I didn't know it was real.
It's real. And like the craziest thing is like he was a writer, and she would take like whatever he wrote on his typewriter to the publisher for him. She was like very strict. She was like a very dom, And she was like, you stay up in the attic, I'll control everything. And like she published everything for him on his behalf, and then he murdered the husband, which is horrible. And then she had like secret side pieces that were lawyers and accountants, and the lawyer she was sleeping with like helped them kind of get off on like without murder charges.
Wow.
I can't.
It's a lot.
I can't.
You need to write a book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You do.
I want to hear these stories.
For real.
Thank you.
I'm feeling a book.
Well, you can
is in
hear
your
these
vid-
stories on the Touch of Past
Yeah.
podcast.
Thank you.
You can also hear my personal ghost story, by the way. on
Yes, he
Mulholland,
was such a good
which-
guest.
It was 100% true. Listen to it, because I'm not going to give it here. You guys, I thought I was going to die.
Oh, my God.
I was scared. Like,
Ghosts are supposed to just come in
They're
and out.
scary.
This ghost literally attacked me.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Yeah. Anyway, that was our Halloween party. What a weird party.
Yeah.
Right?
Party.
We talked about everything. Thank you to my guests. A big thank you to Tony, our station owner and our engineer. Our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez. Please like, share, subscribe so we can continue to bring the show for you for free. Stay sexy, stay healthy, stay tipsy. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.